in 45 minutes and I'm condensing it, so whew, Lord help me today. All right, so I'm Emily Jackson. As she said, I'm a speaker, an author, a career transition coach, and I'm a sales leader in the tech industry. And I'm talking about switching up your mindset and stepping up to your true purpose, your dream career, your best self. And what I love about telling this story, having this talk, is that it's all from lived experience. Yes, I'm in the tech industry now, but previously I was in the fitness industry. I've worked in higher education. I've worked in aviation industry. I've been a college cheerleading coach. I've been a professor. So I have done a little bit of everything. And you know what? I'm probably not done yet. Who knows where I'll be in the next 10 years. But I wanted to talk about not just career transition, but through all that, it's all about confidence building. Because how I started this journey of career transition and getting to those different spaces is to learn more about myself. What am I capable of? When I was in the fitness industry, I thought, I want to do something different, but I didn't know what that could be, or, hey, what am I capable of? I know I can work out, I know I can teach fitness classes, but what else can I do? So I'm going to show this picture here. This is me as a ballerina. About 5 or 6 years old. I just lasted about 1 year in my ballerina life. Not that it didn't go great, but a little story about this is that I'm an introvert. So if you've talked to me a little bit during this conference, and I may not be super talkative because I'm very quiet naturally. So how in the world am I doing speaking engagements? That's how life works. But I'm very introverted, very quiet, and that ballerina life only lasted a year because my twin sister was forced to do it with me because I would do nothing without her there to support me. That was not just as a child, that was all throughout adolescence and college. I'll give you some examples. In college, she would walk me to my classes for the first couple of weeks of the semester because I was so anxious that I somehow wouldn't get to the right classroom or something would happen. I don't know what I thought would happen, but I was so anxious that she had to walk me to classes. If I had to go to the bursar's office, she had to be my mother, essentially, and talk to the bursar's office for me. I couldn't do it by myself. I couldn't even order food at a restaurant. This is in college, guys. Couldn't even order food at a restaurant. I couldn't talk to anyone. And so that's how introverted and shy and quiet I was. And the reason why is because I didn't know myself. I didn't know who I was. And luckily, as I got a little bit older, got into the professional field, I started to know myself a little bit more, but still not enough to be confident and truly myself. And now this woman here, that's a recent picture of me, and that is a confident woman. I'm standing here today as a confident woman, and I'm so proud of that. Now, am I perfect all the time in my confidence? Am I feeling wonderful about myself all the time? Of course not. None of us are, right? But that is where the self-reflection journey comes in. So I'm sharing with you 5 steps to switch up your mindset in your self-reflection journey. So yes, it could be, hey, I'm looking to get into a new career path. How do I get that started? Where do I go from here? Or it could be, hey, I want to build confidence, and these self-reflection steps can help you get there. So it's all really simple. It's all things we've thought about before. So the first thing is determine your interests. What are your likes and dislikes? Really simple question, right? I like the Bengals because I'm from Cincinnati, but I dislike, let's say, the Patriots. It's probably more of the Chiefs. Sorry if there's any Chiefs fans in here. But so I like the Bengals, I dislike the Chiefs. So you're able to talk about your likes, right? You probably do that at dinner parties. Absolutely. This weekend, you've talked to people about your likes and maybe some dislikes. But have you asked the why? And when it comes to your career path, think about your previous positions or your current roles. What did you like about them? And what did you dislike about them? But not just that, why is that? And then what does that tell you about yourself? So an example I'll give is when I was in the fitness industry, I was working actually at a campus recreation center, and I would deal with student staff, I would manage student staff. And what I really liked about that role is getting together trainings and doing trainings for those students. And why I liked that is because I loved to see how they developed from freshman year to senior year. Hey, gosh, this person was not ready for this type of role, and now they've developed by their senior year to be ready to go out into their career path. And then what does that tell me about myself that I like that? Well, it tells me I like to teach. It tells me I like to professionally develop others. It tells me I like to mentor others. So now I know that next career path that I go into, that needs to be incorporated. That type of environment needs to be a part of what I do next. Step 2 is values. I love talking about values. I could probably talk definitely the whole 20 minutes, but probably 45 minutes about values. But what I want to say about values, I want you to think through 2 questions. What brings you great joy, and what do you dread? So if something brings you great joy, that's a value of yours. If it's something that you dread, your value is the opposite of that, right? So for example, something that brings me great joy is my faith. And another thing that brings me great joy is community and teamwork. So those are values of mine, right? So whatever role I go into, whatever corporate environment or entrepreneurship I go into, that needs to be incorporated, those values, okay? So think about that when you're going into another career path. You can also think about this when you're thinking about those that you lead. Do you know what their values are? Because if you don't, you need to find that out so that you can ensure that they're in the right spots in your environment as well. The last thing I'll say about values that I think is really, really important if you get nothing else from this presentation is that you want your values to be consistent across home and work. There is no personal versus professional. It's all the same. So my faith value, I need to lead with that value. That doesn't mean I'm shoving it into people's faces, but it means I'm being true to myself, even at work. I'm leading with my faith, and I'm keeping that consistent because you know what? I've done the opposite before, and it doesn't feel good. And also, I'm not really myself. I'm not really myself at home then, or at work. And so none of us want to do that. And if we're not doing that, or we're leading 2 different lives essentially, we're not going to be happy in that environment, and we're going to not have success in that career path. All right, number 3 is transferable skills and strengths. And my goodness, my mouth is getting real dry. All right, so I know this sounds like I'm gearing you up for a resume talk, which I am going to talk about resumes for just a brief second. But transferable skills are something that really, really helped me build confidence and understand who I am. And I'll tell you how. So when I was in the fitness industry and going and figuring out, hey, you know, I want a different path, but where do I go from here? What am I capable of? This is one of the first things that I did, is that I wrote down my transferable skills. I had pinpointed a role at GE Aviation for an operations specialist role. Does that have anything to do with fitness? No. Did it seem like that would coincide with my background? No. But I made this transferable skills document. I printed it out. I was able to get an interview. I brought that to the interview and talked through it along with my resume. So I showed them, hey, it looks like I don't have this exact background, but actually in the fitness industry, all of the things you're asking for, I was able to do in that role. And so I can bring value in this operations role. And guess what? I got that job. So it worked. And so that is something I would suggest, is make sure you know what your transferable skills are. And what's beautiful about that is it showed me that, gosh, I'm really capable of anything, right? If I can go to an operations specialist role from a fitness role, what can I not do, right? And that can be the same for you. The only thing I'll say about strengths, I want to tell a brief story about the outside perspective of strengths. What's really important, you know, we can all probably spout off our top 3 strengths, right? But what I really found value in is getting that outside perspective. So as I told you, I'm an introvert. When I was in the fitness industry, my manager at that time, who I would also say was a mentor, I voiced to her, you know, hey, in these professional meetings that we're having, like bi-weekly, I know I'm not saying a lot, and I'm really concerned that my colleagues are thinking that I'm not interested, that I maybe don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm just wondering what I can do differently. And she said, you know what, Emily, that's not what we think. We know that you're not just talking to talk, so when you do have something to say, we really listen because we know it's important. And so I went into that conversation thinking, quiet introvert equals weakness. But she told me quiet introvert equals pointed speaker. So that one change of perspective changed my mindset for my strengths. So I thought, gosh, I guess an introvert's actually a strength for me, right? And so that is what I would advise for you, is to get that outside perspective of what your strengths are as well. And then yes, I told you I was going to talk about resume. I won't spend a lot of time on resume, but I find it really important to constantly update your resume. I mean, we all know this, right? You got to keep your resume updated, whether you're in the corporate environment or not. But what's great about keeping a resume updated, or what I will say, is you want to make sure it's a storytelling resume. You're not just saying, hey, here's the job description of my latest role. No one's going to pay attention to that, right? And it's not going to help you stand out. But you want to show how you brought value. What was the impact that you made on that role? And some ways that you can do that is you can create a wins folder. And this is a great confidence builder as well. So whether it's a physical folder or it's on your desktop, anytime you accomplish something, hey, I hit my quota by 110% this quarter, or I did a great presentation at this conference, put that in your wins folder. You can always go back to it when you're having a bad day, right? But also, you can plug those wins in to your resume. I don't know about you, but I have a terrible memory. So if I'm trying to update my resume every couple years, I'm not going to remember my wins from a couple years ago, right? So that's something you can consistently do to ensure that you have a storytelling resume ready to go at all times. Step 5, I'll say build your network and find mentors. I mean, you're networking during this whole conference, right? So that's wonderful, and you're building out your network here. And you want to make sure that you not just have a diversified network, but you have mentors that you're speaking with consistently, that you're getting that outside perspective and you're getting that feedback from. I'll tell you, the role I'm in right now is a leadership role. And about this time last year, I was talking to my mentor within the company saying, you know, I really want to be in a management position at this company. How do I get there? And so she advised me to build a career progression document and show my value if I were to get a management role for this company, what could I bring? And also show what did I want to do in 7 or 8 years with my career to show why I wanted this type of role. So I did that. She was able to help me present it to our executive team. And guess what? I got the role that I essentially asked for. And yes, I advocated for myself, but I wouldn't have felt comfortable doing that if I didn't have that mentor backing. So remember that if you need to have a mentor, to just continually build your confidence and have that mentor backing. All right, so let's say you've done all that. You've gotten into the career path that you want to be in. Now, how do you continue to have success in that role? How do you step up to your best self? Before I get into my core 7, I want to talk about vulnerability. So I've found in my life, professional and personal, that vulnerability is the key to success. And so we've all been vulnerable during this conference, right? We've told really personal stories, and that's how we're really our true selves, right? That's how we're leading with our whole selves and just leading with purpose. And what I found with vulnerability is that it builds better relationships. It also, because it makes me relatable, right? It makes me, people can approach me and ask me anything if I'm vulnerable. And it also shows that I'm a servant leader, because if I'm willing to be vulnerable and that's helping others, then absolutely, you want to follow a servant leader, right? And lastly, being vulnerable is courageous. We all know that. You can't have vulnerability without, or you can't have courage without vulnerability. And so my vulnerability story has to do with my book that I have over here, Weight of the World. And I wrote this book in 2024 and published it last year in 2025. And it's all about my journey to conceive and difficulty conceiving, multiple pregnancy losses. Still on that journey, prayers for my husband and I that we'll be able to conceive. But I shared that very personal story with the world. I shared it on LinkedIn, shared it for all my customers and coworkers to see. And that's only brought me good things because I'm vulnerable. It's made me a better leader, and it's made me more myself, and honestly, the best version of myself that I've ever been. All right, I know I'm doing good on time. Ooh, I'm gonna take a breath and slow it down. Okay, so my core 7 to stepping up to your best self. So these are just really practical ways that I've found just to continue my career progression. So these are things that you can always think about, hey, how can I continue my career progression? And then if you're a leader, you can help those that you lead remember to do these really practical things. So the first thing is communicate. Introduce yourself to anyone and everyone, right? Now that's hard for me because I'm an introvert, but I like to try to just come up with a little, hey, here I am pitch, if that's what helps, okay? Just a little bit of, this is me for 30 seconds. So you want to introduce yourself to everyone, of course, when you first get into a new career path, when you first get into a new organization, yes. Even if it's someone that you don't think that you're really going to be interacting with, you never know. The more allies that you have, the better, right? So the more you communicate, the better. And that goes along with seeking allies and mentors. That's with any workplace, any community, any organization. You want to seek out different mentors in different spaces. Then the next one I will say is create your own 90-day goals. You walk into a corporate environment, you're going to have 90-day goals, right? But what about your 90-day goals? Are you coming up with those consistently and working toward those consistently? My personal goals are going to be a lot different than the company's, right? So you want to make sure you're doing that for yourself. The next one I'll say, I talked about recording wins, but also show your work. And this is super, super practical. But one thing that I did to help, again, I told you I have a terrible memory, but to really show why I needed to have that or why I was able to lead in the environment that I'm in right now, is every week I would send my manager at the time just a little synopsis of what I had accomplished that week. Nothing like, oh, I'm the best, here's how I'm amazing this week, but essentially here's what I've been working on, maybe some things that, you know, I'm pushing towards or so on. And he was able to leverage that along with that career progression document to show that that's why I should be in this management role. So that's a good thing for you to do if you're looking for career progression. Also, keep asking questions. Keep that learning mindset. We never know it all, right? The CEO of a company, the CFO, the president, they don't know everything, right? And they never will, and we won't either, and that's fine. You gotta keep that learning mindset and keep asking questions, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Company culture, get involved. This is something that, you know, we're all getting involved in and expanding our network this weekend, but also you want to make sure within your company that you're getting as involved as possible. I'm part of our women's ERG within the company and am very involved in that, and that's only led to more mentorships, better network, and of course, career progression as well. And then remember to give yourself grace. We're all going to fail, right? I mean, a lot of people have talked about that. We're going to fail over and over again. We're going to make bad career decisions. We're going to make not so great decisions as a leader, but that's okay. Everybody does, but you just have to give yourself grace and move forward, learn from it. All right, so my conclusion is do something that scares you every day. So it could be ordering food at a restaurant. It could be something that simple, okay? But it could be something even bigger than that. So if this will take you to my website, apluswomen.com. You can kind of check out all that I have going on there. We'll talk about my book on there as well. And then the Weight of the World newsletter, that's a bi-weekly newsletter that I have. There's a Bible verse of the week each week, or bi-weekly, as well as leadership tips and just some thoughts that I'm having about leadership and business during the week. So I'd love for you to subscribe to that, and you can always check out what I've got going on. And yeah, I think that's all I've got. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I love your outfit. Just one thing first before the next speaker. Is Wanda Jackson here? She didn't take her certificate home. Okay. Our next speaker is Melissa Hill. Melissa Farmer Hill. Oh, good. She's here. Yay! A retired U.S. Army combat veteran. Give her applause for that. Thank you for your service.